going to say a year ago now, to require FEMA to upgrade its mapping systems, rely on better data when it's mapping out the floodplains. It is sitting over in the Senate. The Senate has not taken it up. This is a problem for places like Medford. I was out talking to a gentleman whose home was 3 feet higher than his neighbor's, and there's a little creek runs between them, and he was told he's in the floodplain, and his neighbor's home is 3 feet lower, is not in the floodplain. This is how goofy the maps are. I was out in Milton Freewater last week. The whole town of Milton Freewater is now sitting in a floodplain because of a dike issue that's now being repaired and about to be recertified. But all those people could be forced to buy flood insurance unnecessarily at a very high cost in a community with pretty low incomes. So we need to get that passed into law. It's currently before the Senate.
Because some of the people here, or the counties after them, move things out of the flood.
Right. Oh, it's halted construction of different facilities. There's a medical clinic trying to open Milton Freewater that's caught up in this. And if we could just get this law passed, they would use better mapping techniques, and we would resolve about 2/3 of the problems out there. And with the amount of rain that's coming, well, we get this flood thing figured out. Yes?
In your chart on who owns our debt, where is the amount being purchased by the Fed?
Oh, well, by the Fed. I can tell you that on the foreign held debt, it shows about, or the government debt's about $10 billion. There's another 5 or 6, which is intergovernmental transfer, read Social Security, and other trust funds, which can only be invested in government bonds. So what's happened over the years is, and you all know this, it's called a rate on Social Security. You pay your Social Security in every month. Where does it go? It goes into an account. What happens to that money? So it gets borrowed by the general fund of your government, and an interest payment is made on that borrowed money back to Social Security. That all sounds good, right? Except your general fund went and spent it all, and unlike a bank, has no ability to pay it back. Now the cash flows have changed, and rather than having a surplus out of Social Security because some of us are aging and, adding to the rolls, now you don't have the ability to pay back, and now we're having to start pay back into Social Security trust funds. So that was the safest investment for Social Security, perceived at the time, is they buy government bonds. So that's where it is. So it's literally sitting in file cabinets in West Virginia on paper.
Okay, but the thing is when the Fed starts buying back our debt, we are actually reducing the value of the dollar.
Yes. Well, when they're printing money, you are. And actually, I've supported the effort to audit the Federal Reserve. I think we need to have a better idea of what's going on there.
How much do they audit?
I don't know the number off the top of my head of what's owed.
Because that really affects what the value of the dollar is.
Yeah.
And the more they buy,
well,
the worse we get.
I concur with what you say in that you think about if you start putting a lot of dollars out there, it devalues the dollars that you have. So if you're a senior, the money you set aside for your retirement, how much interest are you getting on that right now?
Nothing.
Right. That's controlled by the Fed. Then when they print all this money, and then inflation eventually will come, and we saw this in the 80s. You remember the late 70s and 80s, double-digit interest rates, double-digit unemployment, double-digit inflation, and it just wiped you out. Now, if you're the holder of the debt, the value of that debt you hold goes down dramatically in an inflationary period, right? Because it's not worth as much. If you're the one that has to pay the debt, not a bad deal. I pay it in current dollars that are worth less, and so that's part, I think, why China's backing off on how much debt they buy. And this is where this whole thing then explodes in inflation. I'm concerned about once the economy gets going again.
And that will really hurt the seniors who
Yes.
have their money.
Yes, yes, who have not been getting any earned interest on what they have because the Fed's been holding down interest rates in the name of trying to get the economy going again. Yes, sir. Then I'll come over here to this lady.
I'll change the subject here a little bit here. Get over here to our little forest, your little forest dealing.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Have to turn around this way.
That's fine. I can hear.
Part of your chart here, or part of what's going on here, I haven't been involved with politics very long. I always voted Republican, but I'm wondering why I should, but now.
Well, there are probably some people here who will applaud that, but we'll go on.
Well, no, not do the dark side. Not I don't know if they have either, but, the part of what happened was, when I got involved with the politics, I began looking at some things. As far as the environment, and as far as our forestry, as far as I know
Right.
jobs in Josephine County,
Right?
and wondering why it's happening. So we have lawsuits keeps us from
Yes, sir?
logging.
Appeals too, and lawsuits.
When we had the fire out here.
Right?
Took 5 years to get only 5%, and then that was protested, even though
Right.
5%. So, after I did some research, these are environmentalists, radical environmentalists.
Right.
Now, I wonder how many of them visit your office, your staff, to get some information so they can do it. Because we have worldwide environmentalists involved with the very people there that you're negotiating with to do these things. They want to take some more, about 60 some odd thousand acres, and put it into a wilderness. That contains Grants Pass, or Josephine County, is one of the richest mining areas going. And then we're coming up with we're going to have a new legislation. Something I have trouble with Congress is that they can't go back and redo what they've done. They have to pass something new, and it creates even more problems.
That's the only way you can change what was done, is pass a new law. Can't do it any other way.
Right, so that's why we...
You're a lawyer, right?
Yeah. No, I'm
Oh.
not a lawyer.
That's two of us then, that aren't lawyers. But that's the only way you can change a law, is pass a new law that edit, modify.
So now...
That's all you can do.
Now you got another legislation here.
Right.
Because Congress and the government didn't take care of the ONC lands and let us harvest those lands.
Right.
And actually, what does it take to get a mine going in this...
An act of Congress.
An
Because
act
I
of
know a
Congress,
guy
even to
trying
get a
do
mine
it.
going out here, you're either sued, or they put in the applications to mine, and what happens with it? It sits on a desk for years. Nobody has got a mine approved in Josephine County to mine over there. We got one of the richest lands in
They're mine claim.
southern Oregon here going, but we're making another deal with these things. We got a deadbeat dad in Washington, and they're trying to pass something else on to us. I sent you this chart, by the way.
Okay.
Something very similar to it, but
All
it's
right.
updated.
All right?
And you see the millions of dollars that these people have
Right.
to harass you and your staff and many of the other Republicans that let you go along with the fuzz.
Well, we can talk about it. But let me just say this. Thank you for the chart and your input. So, first of all, in my role as your representative of Congress, I don't slam the door on anybody. I may not agree with them,
You should.
but
on those guys.
no, I meet with them too. I meet with them too. They have that right. They're a taxpayer, they're a citizen of this country, and they should have the right
No, I'm
to,
talking about DeFazio.
they should have the right to, well, he's a taxpayer, he's a citizen, come on. So, I'll get to you in a second. All right.
We'll try to get rid of them this year.
Well, that's, okay, I understand. So what I don't like is the status quo that's left this state upside down. Do you like the status quo?
No.
Okay.
I don't like the fact of what you're doing, to think, that's the same
Okay.
garbage we get all the time. We don't like the status quo, so we're gonna give them, how much are you giving to the environmentalists that say
So-
what to do?
okay.
Give some away.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna put environmentalists in charge of this committee to say whether you can
Nope.
log or not.
Law doesn't say, the proposal doesn't say that.
Yeah,
It's,
that's who appoints it, so.
okay, so the governor of the state of Oregon would make the appointees, the appointments.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, environmentalists will be appointed to it.
Two of them would be from nominations from the Oregon and California, ONC counties, the ONC counties. I think it's unlikely they're going to do what you suggest. But let's say they do stack it. We've actually met with and consulted with attorneys whose focus is on trust. The trust obligation contained in the language that the three of us have agreed to, requires them to manage these lands on a sustained yield basis going forward. You're concerned about lawsuits, so am I. The legislation, as drafted, says you can sue one time within the first 60 days as to whether or not this law and trust is legal, constitutional. You do that in Court of Appeals, they have 180 days to rule. That's it. Because the Oregon Forest Practices Act doesn't have citizen right of lawsuit. Federal government does under NEPA. State of Oregon's forest practices does not. It's a different law. It operates, it's prescriptive. It says, here's what you can do, here's what you shall do, here are timelines you'll do it, here's how you manage stream setbacks and all that.